Raki!
Hi guys, it's Raki here and I'm back with another video just for you. Thanks as always guys for tuning in. Don't forget to go check out my new cosmetic line, Rue Gloss. We sold out last month, so this month let's get busy again. I'm so thankful for all of you who's been buying lip gloss, all handmade, vegan, organic ingredients by yours truly. And don't forget to stream my latest single, I Think I Do. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump right into the video now since we're done with promo. Just like you at home, I also taught myself Korean. Self-learning or self-teaching just really isn't easy. Like, trust me, I know guys, I've been there before. When I was living in Seoul, South Korea and studying abroad, I had the chance to really enhance my Korean, whether I was studying Korean or not. But when you come back to a place where there's not many Koreans available to you or around you in your neighborhood or in your country or whatever, it can get really hard to make sure you stay on track teaching yourself Korean, especially between the beginner to intermediate stages. And studying can honestly just be very, very hard. I know guys, but here's a step-by-step guide that I created for myself when I first was teaching myself Korean that maybe for some of you it will be helpful. You can choose what you want to use or not use. I'm still learning. I make mistakes, you make mistakes. So I think that this should be helpful. And everything that I mentioned will be down in the sub box for you guys and some good, awesome links, okay? All right, get your notebooks out so you guys can take some notes for yourself and let's go ahead and begin. Number 1, what's your purpose of learning Korean? Now, some people learn Korean because of K-pop, K-dramas inspired them. There's so many different things that could have pushed you to finally teach yourself at home Korean. Nonetheless, regardless of what those reasons are, you should kind of know what you want to use your Korean for, kind of. So if you want to use it to maybe become a translator or something, you know what kind of studying you may need to get into. If you just want to use it to have casual conversations with your Korean friends, or if you plan to live in Korea, then it's a certain kind of way that you should be learning and what kind of words you think you're going to be needing, right? So I always say you should know why you want to learn Korean and what do you want to use it for. That way you can focus your studying around your purpose. All right, now it's time to gather all of your resources that you plan to use, whether you pay for it or it's free. It's time to get our resources together. You're gonna need some resources in order to learn any language of your choice. So that means textbooks, whether you find them online or you buy them on Amazon like I did, or you can find free websites like I did. We got talktomeinkorean.com. We have howtostudykorean.com. There's a lot of good links out there, a lot of good free resources that you can use. Don't forget YouTube, guys. YouTube have plenty of lessons as well. So everything that I ever use is also down below. Okay, you got that? Now it's time to get your notebooks together. You need to make sure you have at least one notebook if you can get one, and one journal, I should say. Or if you want, you can get a binder. This way you can section off each section of what you plan to study. So you can separate maybe grammar from vocab, from sentences, from whatever you want to do. I've used both methods. I think they're both helpful. It's just that notebooks and journals are easier to carry along with you whenever you leave the house. But right now, most of us are stuck inside, so you can just stick to your handy dandy binder, right? Now you need to start figuring out what's your lesson plans. Most of the resources you find, whether it's websites or textbooks, have lessons, okay? They have lesson 1, lesson 2, all the way up to their final lesson. I suggest that if you are a true beginner and you're learning your Korean basics, you need structure. Even intermediate people such as myself need structure, okay? So it's very important to follow along the lessons. Now, some of the lessons can have random vocab words in there sometimes that may not be useful. It's totally up to you on how much you want to focus your vocab on, or what you want to focus on as far as learning vocab. You should be following a lesson. A lesson will keep you structured, help you understand what's going on, and most of these resources, hopefully, are structured very well for beginners, right? Boom. So we're doing our lessons on our free resources or our textbooks, whatever you're using, but you need some other additional things to follow on your lesson with. Most of the books you purchase come with a CD if you're able to play them, to hear the audio tracks with the lesson, or those audio tracks may be available online. You can even probably Google it and find the audio tracks for free online. That way you can hear what you're learning and make sure you understand what it sounds like through a native tongue. let's say you have no textbooks, or let's say you don't even have like an audio CD or audio to follow, but you need to be training your ears, use YouTube. There are some really good YouTube Korean lessons done by Koreans where I felt like they were so useful to me when I first was learning Korean. For example, Seemile 한국어 is really good. Seemile Korean. I'll make sure I put that down below for you guys. Was so great, so easy to follow along, and almost felt like I was in a classroom, although I didn't have the resources at the time to be in a classroom. That's just one example. All right, guys, we're getting further into this study guide right here. The next thing that I really want to focus on and talk about for a little bit is learning vocabulary. This is kind of where the studying can get a little tedious or a little difficult, even for someone in intermediate stages such as myself. This is where it can get challenging. Learning vocabulary, learning grammar or grammatical particles can be a little challenging, but you need to make sure you find a way that works for you. So I suggest writing down your vocabulary words that you're learning, whether you're learning the words from lessons you found online or lessons from your book. Write down these words, use flash notes, use flashcards, use sticky notes. For anything like objects around your house or clothes or your body, those was where I would mostly use sticky notes, and I think it's really awesome that you can wake up every day, walk around, and you randomly will see it, not realizing that you're subconsciously starting to remember that vocabulary word and know how it's spelled. There's really good apps out there also like Memrise. I'll put that down below. I use Memrise, and there's tons of other good apps that will allow you to learn vocabulary, put your own words onto the flashcards, or you could even search up someone else's vocab list and learn that way. Those apps I feel like are really useful because they'll give you reminder notifications like, hey, your lesson, hey, refresh your memory, hey, let's see how well you remember these words. Very useful. These apps are not only on phones, but they're also available online. Listen, memorization is boring. It can feel like a chore. I know I suffer from it even as an engineer science major. I'm so tired of memorizing things. I get it. But honestly, memorization is going to be the #1 thing about learning a language, is your ability to memorize what you're learning. But not only that, you must be ready to use it. You need to quiz yourself often. If you're learning new things every week, quiz yourself at the end of the week. Test your knowledge at the end of the week to see what you really remember. But don't ever move on if you haven't memorized something already. It's time to apply it to sentences. Now, don't freak out. A lot of people tend to message me or say in the comment section that, they don't understand sentence structure. How do I actually make a sentence? Well, if you're using the right resources, whether it's paid for or free, wherever you find them, most resources make sure they guide you on a level that's fit for you to understand how to slowly progress in sentences. Usually you'll learn random words after, of course, you learn Hangul and Bachim. I know I kept saying Bachim in my last video, but that's because I kept reading it in English, and that's literally my subconscious making that mistake. So when you're ready and you've learned a decent amount of vocabulary words, little grammar, it's time to start writing your own sentences using just the words you learned. You have to use a translator app to write your sentences. That means the word you are looking for or that you want to use, you're not ready to use it. You haven't genuinely learned it yet. So use only what you learned. That way you can master those words or those grammatical particles that you've been spending that whole week studying, okay? Don't try to add new things unless you're ready to add those new words in your next vocab list. Also, as I mentioned in a previous video, I put it up here, I told my opinion, especially as an intermediate going on or trying to go on to advanced level Korean studier. I personally felt like I suffered a lot by learning some random words that was given to me by different resources that I never used. And here I am, 27 years old, and sometimes I don't have the vocabulary words I need to express myself to other 27-year-olds. So with that being said, while you're learning your vocab words from these lessons you found online or these lessons that are in your textbook, add some words when you're ready that you think you're going to be using. I only suggest to do this though for those who are advanced beginners. All right, let's say you moved on. Let's say you progressed in these few months or however long it's taking you, and you've learned how to write sentences, you got your grammar down pat, you got some vocab down pat. Now it's time to see what you know and what you want to say is correct. Come on guys, it's time to break out that shell and talk to a native Korean person. A lot of people say, you know, they're super shy to talk to a stranger or super shy to talk to Koreans, or maybe they're super worried that they're gonna make mistakes. It's okay. Don't really trip about it. I know that's easier said than done, but trust me, you have to be ready to break out of that shell, because if you spend so much time studying, and you don't even know if you're saying these correctly, you don't even know if your sentences you're writing are correct or make sense or sounds natural, then you're wasting all this precious time that you're teaching yourself Korean. So while you're learning, you're gonna eventually have to talk to a native speaker. Raki, I don't have any Korean friends. I don't live anywhere where there's even Koreans. Don't worry, baby, I got you. There are language exchange websites and apps, super free, super easy to use if you're ready to take it to the next level and make Korean friends. I eventually had to do that. I use websites like I think Hellotalk. Hellotalk is a little, it's a lot of weird people out there, so just make sure you be careful. A lot of these websites and apps let you filter who you want to be able to talk to you. So I would filter at some point, I'm only looking for females and they have to be from Korea. And that's how I will filter mine, you know, to get what I want, to make sure that I'm having a comfortable experience. So you can do the same thing. All the website I use and everything will be down below. But most of these language exchange websites and learning partner apps are free, guys. A lot of people always say, well, I don't have someone to talk to. Bro, there are people that are willing to talk to you because they're also trying to learn your native language, or especially if it's English. So it's an exchange. That's the whole thing about exchange. Luckily, some of my exchange partners became friends. About 2 to 3 of them became personal friends here while I was living in America, and then when I first moved to Korea, they went back to Korea. So I didn't start off Korea completely alone, which is really, really awesome. So I really suggest making a partner, send them voice notes, let them hear you say the sentence or hear you say the words, to say, oh no, pronounce it like this. Sometimes even my personal Korean friends, I'll send them something, say, can you say this in a natural turn? Can you send me maybe a voice note so I can hear it? It's gonna be very, very useful to you, trust me. Later on, you may eventually even Skype your partner if both of you are comfortable with it. I eventually picked the right partners to Skype, and then we had a face-to-face conversation, whether we spoke sometimes in English or mostly Korean. It was a really, really fun experience if you find the right partners. All right, now you need to get yourself a good dictionary or translating app. As I mentioned in the previous self-teaching or learning Korean mistakes video, it's very important to have a resource where you can translate your words or sentences in Korean. Google Translate, honey, is gonna only take you but so far. So I like to use Papago. 이거 뭐야? I enjoy using Naver's Papago app. It's really easy, really useful. I'll put that down below as well. But that is probably one of my favorite translating apps for learning Korean. You do need something to just double check a word. And I do like to use Naver Dictionary also, because when you type a word in, you can press the audio button to hear what it sounds like. Guys, trust me, as you're learning new words or learning new grammar particles, or maybe you're coming across someone else's sentences, click the audio button so you can hear what these new words sound like often. Okay, remember when I said to get yourself a journal? This is what we're gonna talk about now. The reason why I suggest a journal is, well, because you get to write in it. As you're learning your vocabulary words or anything, or your grammar or anything like that, every week or so, whatever your schedule is, it's good to go ahead and write what you learned. Well, not write what you learned. Write sentences or essays with the words you learned. This way you're gonna be practicing writing essays or sentences in a natural way, using the new words that you've learned that week or that month. Because when you follow a textbook and you're learning your vocab through the textbook or lessons you found online, it's very automated kind of a little bit. But now you need to use those words in your own way, how you will want to use them. Write in your journal, write what you feel, write what you thought about, write what happened to you, using those particular words that you could finally use. And if you don't know some of the words you want to write in your journal, I would go ahead and look on a dictionary app, look up the word I'm missing or that I don't know, add add that word to my vocabulary list, because that means this is a word I'm probably going to want to use to say to someone. Make sure that you have someone or language partner that can go over and read through your essays or your journal entries, okay? Not to be nosy, but just to make sure you're saying everything correctly and natural. Okay guys, now it's time to get up those listening and reading skills. Honey, when I went and moved to Korea, no matter how much Korean I knew and I taught myself and I practiced with friends, when I went to Korea, it'll be times when I'll be like, "Nah," because I just couldn't pick it up. Like my ears wasn't truly trained enough to pick up the Korean. So when I moved back to America, I made sure that I was listening to everything in Korean, watching shows I found on YouTube that you can find to make sure that you just hear what Korean sounds like through the native tongue. That way when I went back to Korea, my ears were getting trained. Now reading, guys. Keep reading out loud in order to get faster and faster with your reading. So you can find resources online like blogs that's been written by Koreans. So as I was saying, you can find blogs online that's been written by Koreans, especially on Naver.com. Free Korean children books, if you type it in. Use children books, even if those words you don't know. Children books are gonna be the easiest thing to teach yourself to read. When you're reading your lessons, your books, the blogs, whatever you're reading, even what you're learning, say it out loud, right? It's time to start reading out loud. That way, you can try to enhance not only your reading, but your speaking ability at the same time. You can also read webtoons, which is, oh my God. There's a lot of cool, fun webtoons you can find on Naver.com, you know, the website I already mentioned, which is like Korea's Google in a way. Webtoons are fun because you get to kind of look at the picture and read and maybe learn at the same time. And whenever you are reading, I would use and have a dictionary ready just to see what some of these words mean that you don't know. And if you like it enough and you feel like you want to use it, add it to that list, baby. Okay, last but not least, in this little study guide here, let's talk about if you're having a hard time studying or memorizing, right? Let's say you're studying often, but you can't seem to hold any information down. It can be tons of reasons why, right? Everyone's learning ability is also different. Everyone enjoys learning in different ways. But remember, your brain is also a muscle, honey. So you need to also train it, nourish it, okay? Make sure that you're eating healthy, eating right, getting good sleep, okay? Because your brain right now, if you're about to hardcore study, needs that extra push. If you're a student, already high school, middle school, or college, your brain is already being overworked during the semesters, right? So you gotta give it that extra care and nourishment to not to overwork yourself. Sometimes you could be cramming. Cramming does not work. It's okay if you really want to get somewhere fast, but you got to work on your pace, okay? Sometimes taking breaks is not good, you know, like taking months breaks or a year break is not the most recommended thing. I know, trust me, I suffered from it. But there are times where you genuinely need to make sure your brain is having a break, come back to it, refresh, and take it easy. Because at the end of the day, guys, be proud of yourself that you have taken this step to teach yourself a language, especially Asian languages such as Korean. If your native tongue is so different, this is an amazing feat. Trust me, I'm always impressed that I taught myself Korean. I'm always impressed when I read something, hear something, text something to a friend. I'm like, wow, I did that. So have fun, guys. Wishing you the best in your study. You may not find this study guide or tip guide to be useful, but I get questions 1,000 times a day on, hey, I can't do this, can you help me? Hey, can you give me advice on this to studying? This was a really long video, forgive me, but hey, if I was trying to learn Korean and someone else showed me their methods, I want the video to be long and detailed. By the way, I'm thinking about creating a group study session on Zoom or like some other website that allows multiple people to telecommunicate online together, face to face. Normally I would just go on live, but I'm talking to myself on the camera and have to hurry up and read. This way, if you're not shy, you can hide your camera if you want. This way we can study together and like maybe have some fun with it. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. Talk to you soon. Good luck with your studying. Let's get there. Let's work hard. And annyeong. Annyeong.